the new supply has grown by an impressive 86% on a yearly basis in the March quarter. And this in fact is the highest quarterly new launches ever in last decade. So wouldn't be wrong to say that we are at an all-time high, not only in terms of quarter, but all quarters as well. A deeper look into the trend suggests that majority of these new units that were launched in the first quarter were in the 45 to 75 lakh price bracket, with the highest share, that is around 30% from the total pie of 1.45 that I earlier mentioned, 1.45 lakhs.
The Noida authority has asked developers to execute registries of 1,100 flats in Noida. The authority will take action against erring developers in case of non-compliance. Hello everyone, Namaskar, Salaam, Akal, Vanakkam. We are back with a fresh episode of Keeping It Real by Housing.com. This is India's first real estate focused podcast. It brings to you updates, views and insights about the realty sector, an explainer on a chosen subject and a deep dive into an industry, trend or topic. There's a spring in the step of the real estate industry. Data collated by Housing.com shows that current property demand has not just surpassed pre-pandemic levels, but has also exceeded pre-RERA levels. New residential supply has sustained the above 1 lakh mark for 4 consecutive quarters, reaching an all-time high of 1.47 lakh units in January to March 2023 quarter. We spoke to Ankita Sood, Head of Research, Housing.com, PropTiger.com and Makan.com to help us understand the data. The Noida authority has asked developers to execute registries of 1,100 flats in Noida. The authority will take action against erring developers in case of non-compliance. Also, what is a letter of intent for commercial leasing? Details of all these and much more in this episode. Stay tuned. The real estate industry is bouncing back, and how? New residential supply has sustained the above 1 lakh mark for 4 consecutive quarters, reaching an all-time high of 1.47 lakh units in January to March 2023 quarter, latest Housing.com data has showed. The sustained demand on the back of strengthening home ownership sentiments has bolstered the confidence of developers who were launching their projects after the slowdown witnessed during the pandemic. As compared to the first quarter of 2022, the new launches have registered a robust 86% year-on-year increase in January to March 2023 quarter. New supply has grown across all the top 8 cities, with Chennai, Kolkata and Pune registering a triple-digit growth in the bygone quarter as compared to the same period the previous year. Mumbai, Pune and Hyderabad continue to lead the supply tally, accounting for a significant 77% share in the overall new launches in the top 8 cities in the first quarter of 2023. Of the total units launched in the first quarter of 2023, the rupees 45 to 75 lakh price bracket took the highest share of 32%. Notably, units in more than rupees 1 crore price range have been consistently making up for more than 25% share in the overall new supply. This can also be attributed to the fact that nearly half of the residential supply in the first quarter of 2023 was concentrated in Mumbai, where the general residential appetite is concentrated in more than rupees 1 crore price bracket. Developers across cities focused on the 2 BHK configuration, which took a 42% share in the total new supply tally. The overall trend suggests that there has been a shift towards launching homes in a higher price bracket in this past 2 years. Developers are focusing on amenities such as healthcare, safety and security, and open and recreational spaces amidst changing consumer preferences post the pandemic. We spoke to Ankita Sood, Head of Research, Housing.com, PropTiger.com and Makan.com to break down the numbers for us. Let's listen in. Hello and a warm welcome, Ankita. Delighted to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me, Gaurav.
Ankita, the property markets have bounced back, and how? According to your own data, Housing.com data, Property markets in top cities of India logged highest new supply in Q1 2023, surpassing not just the pre-pandemic levels but also the pre-RERA levels. What factors have contributed to this upward trend?
Yes. So, as you rightly mentioned, Gaurav, nearly 1.45 lakh units launched in 2023. Now, the new supply has grown by an impressive 86% on a yearly basis in the March quarter. And, this in fact is the highest quarterly new launches ever in last decade. So, wouldn't be wrong to say that we are at an all-time high, not only in terms of quarter, but all quarters as well. Now, to put things into perspective, post the RERA, the property markets have definitely, they saw a lot of consolidation with now only some notable developers, that are operating across the cities. The pandemic drove the shift towards home ownership and a substantial increase in residential demand in major cities since 2021. All of this has boosted the supply side confidence to launch new projects, accelerating the new supply, which is even above, the pre-RERA levels that we saw. So yes, exhibiting confidence in the market, and the developer, the supply side thinks that post-COVID, home ownership has actually become very important, for all the home buyers.
Ankita, if we dive deeper a bit, particularly in the data that has come out of new supplies, which price bracket and configuration has actually stolen a march over the rest? Which are the ones that are more popular, where the maximum number of property sales and demand is also being seen as concentrated in which price bracket? Can you tell us more about it, Ankita?
A deeper look into the trend suggests that majority of these new units that were launched in the first quarter were in the 45 to 75 lakh price bracket, with the highest share, that is around 30% from the total pie of 1.45 that I earlier mentioned, 1.45 lakhs. Now, interestingly, the new units that are launched in the more than 1 crore price segment have also increased its share, post the pandemic. Let's say in 2019, new launches in the more than 1 crore price bracket had a share of 14% in the overall pie, whereas now it has grown to an impressive 29% in the first quarter of 23. In terms of configuration, developers across cities are focusing on 2 BHK and 3 BHK, depending upon the city. But there is a focus on larger configurations as a result of home buyers preferring, a tad bit more space, and the shift towards upgrading and wanting that extra space amid, be it the hybrid work model or, a shift in lifestyle or upgrading. So larger configurations definitely are seeing, more traction.
Ankita, as per the data, residential new supply in both Mumbai and Pune took highest share in overall launches in top cities. But let's zoom in a little bit more. Let's narrow it down. Can you elaborate more on which micro markets have performed the best?
Gaurav, both the cities, that is Mumbai and Pune, have in fact witnessed their highest ever first quarter. Mumbai and Pune both have taken a good 63% share in the overall 1.45 lakh units that were launched in the first quarter. Now, in case of new supply, 98% growth has been seen in Mumbai on a YOY basis. If I talk in terms of Pune, then localities such as Charholi, Budruk, Hinjewadi, Poonawale, Moshi, Manjari, these took the lead, accounting for 32% approximately of the total new units that were launched, in the whole of Pune city.
Great. Thanks for these insights, Ankita, and always sharing your perspectives on what's happening in the property market and breaking down the numbers and trends for us. It's always a delight to have you here. Thanks for taking the time out and dropping by to have this conversation.
Thank you, Gaurav. It's always a pleasure to share these micro-level insights with you. Thank you.
The Noida Authority has released a list of 21 real estate projects wherein the sublease deeds or registries of 1,107 flats in 21 group housing societies can be executed but are held up by the developers, according to media reports. These projects are in sectors 75, 78, 121, 137, 144, 143B, 108, 168, and 107. Noida Authority's Officer on Special Duty, Group Housing, Prasoon Dwivedi, said that the authority had been running campaigns, but still tripartite sublease deeds or registries in favor of home buyers have not been executed. Hence, the buyers of builder projects whose flats or towers have been granted permission for executing registries after completion should contact their builder or developer to ensure execution of tripartite subleased deed or registry of the homes, he said in a statement. In case of non-compliance, punitive action would be considered against the builders or developers concerned according to the rules of land allotment and the RERA, Real Estate Regulatory Authority, he further added. According to the list shared by the authority, the projects in which flats have been given the approval for registry include those developed by Ames Max Gardenia Developers, 3 projects in Sector 75, Apex Dream Home, Sector 75, Max Place Constructions, Sector 75, Ames RG Angel Promoters, Sector 75, Ivy County, Sector 121, Purvanchal Project, Sector 137, and Gulshan Homes Infrastructure, Sector 144. What is a letter of intent for commercial leasing? A commercial lease refers to a legal agreement between a landlord and a tenant to rent a commercial property, such as a building or land, for industrial, retail, or office use. Commercial property leases are prepared with a longer tenure as compared to residential leases that usually have a tenure of 11 months. Before getting into a final and definitive contract, the parties usually sign a letter of intent, which is a document that contains a summary of the leasing terms and to inform each party about the details of the agreement. When it comes to commercial leasing, a rental letter of intent and a lease letter of intent have distinct roles in the negotiation and drafting of a lease agreement. A rental letter of intent is a preliminary document that a tenant submits to a landlord, outlining the basic terms and conditions that the tenant intends to include in a lease agreement. It serves as a starting point for negotiations between the parties and provides a framework for the eventual drafting and signing of a formal lease contract. In contrast, a lease letter of intent is a more detailed document prepared by a landlord and submitted to a prospective tenant after initial negotiations have taken place. The lease letter of intent includes specific information about the proposed lease agreement, such as the size and location of the space, the proposed rental rate, the lease term, and any special provisions or conditions. In summary, both rental letter of intent and lease letter of intent play important roles in the commercial leasing process. The former is typically submitted by the tenant as a starting point for negotiations, while the latter provides more detailed information about the proposed lease agreement and is prepared by the landlord. A letter of intent to lease is a document that forms the basis of the final lease deed between the tenant and the landlord. In other words, the letter of intent outlines the broad contours of the lease agreement that is eventually signed by the landlord and the tenant. If you're taking a space in a building on rent to start your business, the landlord may ask you for a letter of intent from you, which will give him an idea of your seriousness to rent the space and also what will be your exact requirements. Moreover, the letter of intent helps in addressing any commercial issues between the parties while validating their commitment to the contract. Companies usually prefer to inspect a property that is available for lease. If they're interested, a letter of intent to rent a commercial space will be drafted and sent to the owner so that the property is held till an agreement is prepared. If the owner receives the formal communication that the company is interested in the property, he is bound to give out the property on lease to the company. Although you can ask your broker to prepare the letter of intent for commercial lease, it is good to know what goes inside a letter of intent to rent a space by looking at a sample. A letter of intent to lease is useful when negotiating with landlords for office and retail spaces. One should also note that there are 2 main types of letters of intent, one applicable for lease and another for purchase. Can a letter of intent be cancelled? The purpose of a letter of intent to rent a commercial space is to facilitate the start of a transaction. It is not legally binding. Thus, either the landlord or the tenant can cancel it at any time. The lease will come into effect only after the commercial lease agreement is signed. That's it from us for this episode. We shall be back again with a fresh episode of Keeping It Real by Housing.com with information and insights on the real estate industry. Take care and stay safe.